Hey guys, thank you for trusting me and purchasing this project. I hope the amount you paid is worth it. This video will guide you through installing the panel and using all the features of this custom source. So don't skip any part if you want to make full use of it. So the first step is something you've already done. You have the zip file I shared via the Telegram channel. Make sure to extract it to your desktop. If you're using Hostinger, convert the zip file to RAR, as Hostinger does not support zip files. Next, go to your hosting panel. For me, it's AA panel. You will need two subdomains, one for the Dooo panel and another for subtitles and M3U hosting. If you want, you can create an additional subdomain for deep links, or you can use the same subtitle subdomain for that. Next, we will set up our subtitle, TMDB, and M3U API on our subtitle domain. For me, it's cloud.3minutesfix.in. Remember, if you are using Hostinger, make sure to extract the zip file and recompress it as RAR. Now let's wait for the upload to complete. Now our upload is done. Remember, we have to extract each zip file first to make our API work perfectly. Take your time and extract them carefully. Make sure they follow a certain pattern. For me, I decided that for the TMDB API alone, I use my domain name followed by /API/ and then my PHP file. This gives a professional look to the API. If you don't want to do this, you can just use it as it is, but remember to copy the URL. I'm sorry for making this a long video, but I assume that some of you might be new to PHP and Android Studio, so I wanted to provide a complete guide. Now, our API domain is ready. Make sure to copy this URL in Notepad. It will come in handy later. In your main subdomain, you need to add the Dooo custom admin panel source. It's the same Dooo admin panel. The only difference is that TMDB and other services are hosted by you. Once extracted, you can proceed with the installation, creating the database in your hosting panel before starting the installation. Once your database details are ready, you can proceed. There is no change in the panel installation. It's 100% the same. No tampering with the license. You must have a valid Dooo license for a smooth experience. Recently, people have been facing database errors. That's why I came up with a solution. You must create the database first and then go to phpMyAdmin. Yes, it feels like a waste of time, but it helps the server sync the new database properly. This way, the Dooo panel also recognizes it correctly. Now we are logged in successfully. This is basically the latest version up to 2.9. I didn't update after that because the newer versions aren't really useful for us. You get the new dashboard, but when you try to import, it won't work. The reason is that we haven't set up the API URL for our panel yet. Although the import may seem to work since my API is live, it won't function properly because it's restricted to my domain. So you must change the origin and TMDB API URL. If you remember, I previously asked you to save the cloud URL. Now it's time to use it. Go to the application folder, navigate to the config folder, open the config.php file. Inside, you'll see a list of API links. Ignore the base URL and cut all other URLs, then paste them into Notepad. Now, copy your URL from Notepad, use find and replace, and in the find field, enter my URL. In the replace field, enter your URL, click replace all. This will update all 6 to 7 URLs with your domain name. Finally, paste the updated URLs back into the config.php file and make sure to change the origin to match your Dooo panel URL origin. Since my aim is to make this source independent, I think it's best to use your own TMDB API key. For that, go to the TMDB website, log into your account. Navigate to API settings. Copy your TMDB API key. Now go to your config folder, open the config.php file, and replace the existing TMDB API key with yours. Changing the origin is very easy. Go to your cloud host domain, navigate to the API folder, and open each PHP file one by one. Find the origin tag and replace it with your Dooo panel URL. For me, it's watchifydemo.3aminutesfix.in. Make sure to do this for all API files to avoid errors like the one I faced later with logo import. Sometimes, for unknown reasons, the origin setting may not work. In such cases, you can replace the domain with asterisk, which allows all domains to access your API. However, this is not safe, as anyone can use your API that could lead to unwanted server load. So, it's highly recommended to use your specific origin for security. It's time to check. Yes, our import works perfectly fine, but unfortunately we can see that the logo is not imported. As I mentioned earlier, I made a small mistake by adding a slash at the end of the origin, which caused a mismatch. Now that issue is fixed. Also, some movies might not have a logo, so we can ignore those cases. Once this is done, the next step is setting up supported URLs or hosts. The original Dooo app supports around 21 sources if I remember correctly. However, in our custom mod, we have reduced it to only the most reliable hosts, keeping a maximum of 10 to 12 working hosts. Ignoring the embed sources, we have 11 fully functional hosts, including Vidsrc, 2 embed, and other were added based on user request to me. We thoroughly test these sources while working on the Android side to ensure everything runs smoothly. The process for adding series is the same. It won't cause any issues as long as you have properly set up the origin URL. Once the series is added, the next step is adding seasons. While I was testing, the TMDB developer server was down, so it didn't work. But don't worry, I have fully changed the code so that it no longer depends on their server. We are now fetching data directly from TMDB. After adding a season, the next step is adding episodes. The episode data is also fetched directly from TMDB and does not rely on my server. If the TMDB server ever goes down, the data won't load, but that's very unlikely to happen. Next comes subtitle handling. In most cases, manual subtitle addition isn't required since the app automatically fetches subtitles from open subtitles. However, there is one issue. Right now, the app is hard-coded to fetch only English subtitles. Maybe in the future, I'll work on fixing this limitation. Many people have asked me about the M3U parser, so I created it with the help of ChatGPT and a close friend who assisted in testing DRM license URLs for development purposes. To make this work, you must create an M3U genre under the live genre, and then choose the source as M3U. Although the code only depends on the genre and is irrelevant to the source, setting it correctly helps with identification. Now, when you navigate to the M3U parser on the cloud domain, you'll see a Bootstrap-based page with a form interface. Here's how it works. Add the live URL, logo, and, if applicable, the DRM license key URL in the right side form. Then, take the generated URL and paste it into the left side form. Once done, the panel will generate an M3U URL, which you can copy and paste into the Dooo admin panel. Since M3U contains a list of URLs, I did not add the other default live TV support because that would defeat the purpose of using M3U. The admin panel is ready. One last thing you need to add is the custom slider. For this app, I made the custom slider mandatory so that it appears on the home page. To enable it, go to the slider menu and add a movie. For example, I'll add Black Adam here, and it will be updated. In the app, the home page will display a custom slider that combines movies and series. Meanwhile, the series page will show only series, and the movies tab will show only movies. This setup ensures that users see different movies and series across different sections, making the app unique. The Android installation part will be posted separately in the next session, within a day or two. Thanks for watching till now. Stay tuned.